Welcome to Industry Insights with Route Consultant, your front row seat to the fast-moving world of logistics and beyond. Each week, we bring you game-changing insights, real-world strategies, and fresh perspectives to fuel smarter investments and build stronger businesses. Join us as we sit down with expert guests to explore emerging trends and pressing topics across a wide range of industries. This is Industry Insights. Hey everyone, welcome to Industry Insights. This is a special episode that was actually recorded live at the Route Consultant Expo in 2026. We're releasing this over time so that if you weren't at the expo, or if you missed the session, or if you're just catching up, these are all coming out over the course of the year so that you can go back and watch this content and make sure that you see everything that we went over at the expo. Today you're going to hear a fireside chat with Harbinger Motors and FreightWaves about how adding one more diesel truck to your business could kill your profit.
Hey everyone, I'm Thomas Wasson. I'm with FreightWaves and super excited to be talking with the folks from Harbinger. I'm a reporter, I'm an analyst, and one of the cool things that we've been seeing in this space is the development of EVs. It's been getting there, it's been growing. And so this fireside chat is called Why Buying One More Diesel Truck Could Kill Your Margins. And so super excited to be talking with Fred de Perez. He's the Senior Vice President of Sales, and we're gonna be diving in. Before we begin though, we have a cool little video, and then afterwards we're going to kick it off. So let's hit that video.
Try to catch me howling at the moon.
Y'all got the nice B-roll.
Cool, huh?
I was looking at that. I'm
really
like,
cool.
ooh, you got to tell me who you use next time. I'm going to put that on the, I got a podcast. But enough about me. Fred, tell us a little bit about yourself, what you do at Harbinger, and then we'll dive in.
Yeah. So thanks, Thomas. Really excited to be here. This is our first time here at this event. And so we have a story to tell. And our biggest challenge so far, Thomas, has been making people aware of who we are and what we do. And so, like I said, super excited to be here. So a little bit about me. I spent the last 30 years in big automotive companies, including Toyota, Fiat Chrysler, now Stellantis. They were a lot of things. Nissan, and then most recently Hyundai Motor Corporation. And today, I'm the Senior Vice President of Sales and Marketing at Harbinger. So enough about me. We can move on. So what is Harbinger? So Harbinger is an American truck manufacturer, and we specialize in medium-duty EV, classes 4, 5, and 6. And we build them right here in the U.S., which is really, really unique. We have a headquarters and a manufacturing facility in Orange County, where we build our vehicles. And what's unique about Harbinger, I'll hit the treetops now, and you can dive into some details, but what's unique about Harbinger is that the vehicles that we build are born to be EVs, right? They're built from the ground up to deliver all the performance that you would expect from a medium-duty truck, but also give you all the benefits of being an EV. So on the outside is a truck, but underneath, there's this EV architecture that was purpose-built for medium-duty truck. So that's something that's really, really unique. We're doing business with a lot of the major fleet companies in the US, FedEx, Grupo Bimbo, Thor, even in Canada. We just started selling in Canada, which is exciting and really cold. And we'll talk about cold weather performance, right? We're working with Purelator in Canada, so we're excited about that. And like I said, so it's our first time here, and the purpose of today is to give people the opportunity to learn more about Harbinger, And so please visit our booth 446. You can't miss the big trucks here at the end of the hall. So we've just come off a record-setting sales performance in 2025, and we're excited about 2026. So I'll leave it there, but that's kind of the high-level overview of who we are and who I am.
And one of the fun things, I originally came from trucking, Class 8 space, heavy duty vocational. And so looking in the medium duty space, one of the big things is, you mentioned the skateboard or the chassis. So you've got the folks who are making the chassis, you've got the folks who are the upfitters. One of the advantages is vertical integration when you're making it. Tell us a little bit about that. I've seen it in some spaces like natural gas and others, where sometimes the person who makes this one component doesn't make the other, and it's all put together, and when it messes up, then you just don't know who to holler at. So talk about the vertical integration aspect.
Yeah, so vertically integrated means that you're making all the subsystems that are needed to create the total vehicle. And one of the unique things that we can go into more detail on is we actually design our components. We design and engineer our components and our software. And so when we talk about price parity, when we're going to talk a little bit about pricing, which is really, really important, is one of those, it's the reason why we can be so competitive, is because we can control the engineering. We don't have to pay supplier margins like everyone else does to get the components. We can control the quality, we can control the cost, we can control the performance, and even more important, we can control the speed of innovation, right? Electrification is just getting started. And so that controlling innovation is an important piece of staying competitive. Being competitive is one thing, staying competitive is another thing.
Well, the price point's fascinating because typically with the battery packs, it's going to be more expensive. Battery packs are expensive, but designing the chassis from the ground up specifically to handle the packs means there's no wasted space. It kind of reminds me of like Legos. You gotta make sure you got the right part. Talk about what makes, what makes it designed for the ground up? For a lot of folks, you're thinking a diesel chassis, a certain drivetrain. What makes the EV unique in that regards?
Yeah, so the EV is unique in terms of just the fact that it can do whatever a diesel can do for less cost. There's fewer parts. There's no oil changes, there's less wear and tear. So that's the attractiveness of building the EV skateboard. At the end of the day, it's a tool, and you want that tool to work every time you need it to work, right? And so being able to design and engineer our components gives us a leg up on the competition, because we can engineer the specs of our components for reliability, for durability, where most other manufacturers are just pulling components off the shelf that are made in supply chains that are sometimes 2 or 3 layers deep. And so being able to avoid that is really a big differentiator for us.
That kind of ties into your OEM experience as well, where you have tier 1 suppliers, and it kind of feels like I got a guy for this, I got a guy for this, I got a subcontractor for this. So especially with Harbinger and the EV setup, that's one of the things where you're not having to go out and make this collection, not like a bank heist where I need a wheelman, I need a powertrain. So you have that opportunity to have it all under one roof.
Right. No, that's exactly right. So being under one roof is where that concept of vertical integration really provides huge benefits. The challenge of vertical integration, though, is that you actually have to be engineers. You actually have to engineer things. So if you look today, if you go out today and you wanted to buy a medium-duty EV truck from a competitor, that competitor is making about 0% of the content that makes it an EV.
Really?
0%. You have battery packs, you have electric motors, you have transmissions, you have axles that, like I said, come up from a supply chain that's 2 to 3 layers deep. So Harbinger is the only US truck manufacturer that builds its own battery packs and electric drive units. We're a commodity buyer. So we buy battery cells from Panasonic, and we make battery modules, and we make battery packs. We buy copper in the open market, and we make our own electric motors and our drive units. And there's only one other company in the country that makes their own battery packs and drive units. You know who that is?
Tesla?
Tesla. That's the only. They're the only other company that does what we do in terms of in-house manufacturing of battery packs and electric drive units. So the concept is easy. If you can control the engineering, if you can control the components and software, now you have a competitive advantage because you have better control of performance, quality, cost, and like I said, innovation, which is really, really important in this space.
So you all really have skin in the game. That was one of the things reporting on, especially in the EV space. If one of the nodes went out because they weren't vertically integrated, that's when customers would be left holding the bag, and we've seen that before. So having that all under one roof before we switch gears a little bit, having skin in the game means you're going to make a better product because it all comes back to you.
Exactly.
So the session is called Why Buying One More Diesel Truck Could Kill Your Margins. I like the name. I'm a fan of spicy headlines here, but dive into it. The folks are here for the money. It's very, everyone's here to make
about
money.
The money.
Yeah, it's not my pretty face, unfortunately. But tell us about that. Let's dive into the costs.
Look, this is almost kind of like preaching to the choir, especially if you're business owners or fleet or manage a fleet. The cost of doing business is going up, right? You have fuel costs, you have labor costs, you have tariff costs impacting all commodity prices. You have interest rates that, even though they're headed in the right direction, still is a big pain point for financing. So in general, businesses are just facing a really, really tough environment in terms of profit margin compression. Let's call it compression. And in some cases, erosion. So if you're a business owner and you're trying to avoid this type of profit margin impact, you have to think about what are the biggest sources of inputs in terms of capital that I have. And that's going to be your equipment. Yeah. And so if you have equipment that services routes that can be electrified and you're not looking at electrification, you're really killing your margins.
So let's talk about that. So one of the things, especially when you're trying to figure out your routes, is this something where you're seeing customers try to do a blanket approach, or is it where you want to target the routes? What's kind of that Goldilocks sweet spot for an EV medium duty truck? Yeah,
well, the challenging thing about electrification and EVs, and this is why it's important for you all to come to our booth to really get specifics, it's very individual. Like there's no one size fits all. There's no one perfect vehicle or one perfect range that's going to fit every customer, right? So in terms of, for example, range, right? We've talked about range being a big issue. So we sell our vehicles in configurations of 4, 5, and 6 battery packs. And the trick there is to pick the right amount of packs for your routes, right? You don't want to oversize your capability. I'll give you an example. So if your route is 60 to 80 miles a day, and 4 packs in our vehicles generates about 140 miles of range, you probably don't need any more than 4 packs, right? Yeah. Because 60 to 80 a day, especially if it's a single shift, repeatable route, every day it's the same thing, you don't need a whole lot of range insurance when you have that predictability in your business. But now let's say that every other day you have these larger distances to go. Well, now maybe you want to add 5 packs. That'll get you 175 miles, or 6 packs that gets you 210 miles. So the usage, the individual usage of the routes is really important. The other thing that's important is the charging infrastructure that you have. So if, let's say you have 10 trucks, but you only have access to 5 overnight chargers, you may want to have additional range capability in your trucks where you can do 2 days of driving before you have to recharge the vehicles, because you can't recharge all 10 at the same time. And so this is why electrification gets a little bit complicated for a lot of business owners, because it's very, very specific. And this is where, working with the manufacturer, working with our dealer network, we try to figure out the solution that best fits the customers, what they need to do.
And that ties into, once you understand your route, once you understand what you need for the pack, the estimated savings, I think, is really fascinating, because the operational cost savings, I saw between $6K to $10 is estimated according to the data. Where does the savings come from? Because I know one of the things, maintenance, fuel, PM services and everything, or talk about where would they be expecting to see these savings by transitioning?
Yeah, all of the above, right? It's less wear and tear. It's no oil changes. It's components that last longer. And you're right, depending on what state you're in, because fuel prices are different, electricity prices are different. So depending on what state you're in, it can be anywhere from $6,000 to $10,000 of operational savings, but that's per unit per year, right? And now you factor in on top of that price parity, which we can talk about pricing in a second, where, hey, I can get this EV for about the same price as I can get a diesel, and I'm saving $10,000 a year on every unit I have in operational costs. And if you're in a state that offers EV incentives, you're crazy not to buy an electric vehicle. It's really a no-brainer at that point.
That was one of the interesting conversations I've had across the industry, especially in the EV space, was that very rarely could they just sell something and say, you're going to pay about the same. Most of the time it was like, you're paying like a hundo extra more. You're going to have to figure out how to make this thing work. How the heck did you guys figure out how to make it reach cost parity? Is it the secret in the battery packs and the modularity? Or because that's kind of like the holy grail at the moment, at least from my reporting, is that upfront cost.
The biggest cost that you get is in the margins that you have to pay your suppliers for the components that you need. So the fact that we design and engineer everything in-house, everything becomes a commodity for us. So we design and engineer a component, let's say our axle, we go to an axle manufacturer, and what we're really buying is steel. We've already designed it, we've already engineered it. Now we just want them to make the axle and ship it back to us. So now we can bid 5 different suppliers for a commodity that we've already designed and engineered. But if you're buying stuff off the shelf, you're paying whatever margin that company needs for all that manufacturing and R&D that they did for you. So we avoid all of that, and that's how we can get to price parity with our vehicles.
And so, talking about kind of like real world examples and range, how are fleets using these right now? I think that's one of the cool, fascinating segments. FedEx made a big order. I recently reported on that. What are the use cases at the moment? Are we really having the smaller mileage bands? Are you kind of using them in the larger ones? Any kind of customer feedback based on these early buys?
Yeah, I think the feedback that we're getting is that, one, electrification is not for everyone. But when you look at medium duty, and you look at that last mile of delivery, or you look even in some cases at mid-mile delivery, EVs work for most of the routes that you want a use case for, right? So we're finding that range is not really that big of a deterrent. I think the biggest deterrent is knowledge and education and the actual cost of entry. Right, because I'll give you a big secret here. One of the biggest mistakes our competitors have made, one, they made the mistake of thinking that incentives would last forever. They didn't. Now, there's some states still offering them, but the federal government said, see you later, no more incentives. So that's one mistake they made. The second mistake our competitors made is thinking that consumers would wait long periods of time to amass all these operational savings year over year to make up for the fact that they had this huge acquisition cost at the beginning. And what we're finding out is that's not true. Consumers are not doing that, even when we talk to our large fleets. So you have large fleets out there. We're talking big names, household names that you would know. They have piloted it. They've tested a lot of our competitors' high-priced EVs. But they test it just for the technology. They want to see what it does, what it can do. Once you get, and that's the first hurdle. Yeah. Once you get past the product review hurdle, now you have to show that you're price competitive. And that's where we've done a much better job versus all our competitors in, after getting through the product review, showing that the acquisition cost still makes sense versus what you're paying today.
Hey guys, we just wanted to pause for a moment to invite you to our free events that are happening throughout the year. Whether you're just getting started in the logistics industry or you're looking to optimize your current operation, Route Consultant has events that are designed specifically for you. So head on over to routeconsultant.com/events or check out our show notes to register for free today. Also, while you're here, don't forget to like and subscribe to the Industry Insights with Route Consultant podcast so that you don't miss out on the stories, the advice, and the updates that are happening throughout the industry. We appreciate you being here and hope to meet you in person soon. Now let's get back to the episode.
So we've covered a bunch about the cost, potential savings. There's more literally under the hood, so to speak, in terms of quality of life for the drivers. That's one of the big aspects, because right now, at least on the trucking side, turnover is a major issue. The supply chain, when you're driving, I know my guys did 11 hours a day. If I'm sitting in a box truck 11 hours a day doing a route, kind of want to let's dive into what's the current level of creature comforts in a box truck, and then what is that you all are adding on top of it, because that's such a fascinating thing. It's not just an EV. You guys have been cooking up some other stuff.
Yeah, we like to say that we set out on a mission to build a better truck. It just happens to be an EV. It just happens to be an EV. So one of the things, to address your question directly, which is something that we do that no one else does in the segment, is that we offer a double wishbone independent front suspension. If you've ever driven a step van with a leaf suspension, you know how punishing that experience will be.
Is it a spring? Just like a big old...
It's a big leaf spring, and then some of them have coils, but it's very punishing, especially on rough roads. When you put an independent front suspension, which is what you have in cars, the vehicle becomes very familiar in terms of how it drives. So because of that suspension and the way we're able to tune it, the steering input is very, very light. It feels like you're driving, you're not really muscling this steering wheel to make the turns that you need to make in everyday driving the way you would on a competitor's vehicle. So that's one thing. It just moves. It handles better. The other thing is, because of that suspension, we can have a 50-degree wheel cut. What the range of how to the left or right the wheel can turn, which then gives us a 42-foot diameter or radius in terms of diameter in terms of turning. So a 42-foot U-turn is less than a Sprinter van.
Really?
Yes. And so now, when you're on a tight street and you have to make a U-turn, and you're a driver, you're not as stressed out. You're not doing these three-point turns. So we have some statistics that show that even though these medium-duty vehicles are in reverse about 1% of the time, the accidents that are caused are about 60% of the time when they're in reverse. So not having to put the vehicle in reverse to make a U-turn is a big deal. So the drivability is different. Then you have in our vehicle all the ergonomics, the visibility, the layout of the interior. One of the things that's big for us too is the advanced driver assist systems. So this really takes a big mental load off of our consumers. So bird's eye view monitoring, seeing 360 degrees around the vehicle, backup cameras, right? Because you literally cannot see what's behind you when you're driving one of these big vehicles. And one of the things that we're excited about, and we're going to make an announcement here in the next couple of months, is, and we're already class leading in terms of advanced driver assist systems, we're pushing that even further to separate us even further from the competition. So you have comfort, which causes less fatigue. Less fatigue means you have happier drivers, right? And then you have systems that just make it a safer environment to operate such a big vehicle. And as you know, these vehicles operate in tight urban environments, right? The chances of them getting into collision in these urban areas are huge, unless you have the systems in place to help the drivers out.
One of the things that I learned about the box trucks, my cousin's a UPS driver, he does parcel, was that they had to negotiate for an air conditioner inside the unit. If you get a Harbinger one, does it come with an air conditioner?
Well, look, we would need a 4-hour session to go through all the things on our truck that are unique, but one of the things that you won't find on other trucks is we have a thermal management system. So our thermal management system is a high efficiency heat pump, and it has 3 thermal loops. And so what that means is that it can manage the heat and the cooling distribution between the cabin, the batteries, and the drivetrain, the drive unit. So we're not creating heat. In some other vehicles, you actually have to create heat through resistors. When you create heat through resistors, you're draining your battery. What we're doing is transferring heat, transferring natural heat that comes either out of our batteries or our drivetrains, and we're pumping it into the cabin. So we have systems in place that either heat or cool the cabin without having to really drain the batteries.
That was one of the big things I learned back in the early days of the EVs was they like to be at a certain temperature and to make sure that the optimal charge. So you all have a very unique approach where you're using the motion to create the heat, and then the heat and the energy is keeping the rest of it. So it's like a self-sustaining loop.
Exactly. And that's unique to us in this segment.
And so the ride quality is very fascinating. The steering and stuff you mentioned with the 45 to 50-ish degrees, is that something where folks try to get power steering in these trucks, or is it like a rack and pinion? Or that's one of the challenges I hear from drivers is as you're driving, it's like, you know, you're kind of just moving around with the vehicle, and after 10 hours, you know, shoulder workout, like, you know, driver fatigue, and then that leads into safety and other stuff. Is that one of the creature comforts as well?
Yeah, I mean, it's all in how you tune the mechanisms in terms of the steering. And so, but you have to have a solid base in terms of front suspension to do that. So for example, tuning a suspension when you have a leaf spring front suspension is not going to get you very far. And so you have to start with the basic architecture that allows you to fine tune. And we're doing ride and drives, we're doing demos here. So if anyone's interested in seeing exactly what we're talking about, how it feels, when you get behind the wheel of our vehicle, it feels very familiar. You don't feel like you're in a truck, you feel like you're just driving a passenger car, which then adds a lot of confidence to the drivers when they're on their daily routes.
Maintenance and uptime is a big one. I know that, at least from my experiences, if a truck's down a few days, that's money you're not making. Having the EV stuff, fewer moving parts, what does it kind of look like on the maintenance cycle in terms of that for someone who's not as familiar? Because I'm come from a world of like, I need a PM, I need an oil change, I need all these inspections. What's it like for an EV?
Well, you know, you have some periodic maintenance, but it's less severe because you're not, you don't have oil changes and things like that. But here's what I would tell you. I think everybody already knows that EVs cost less to maintain just because of fewer moving parts, no oil changes as we mentioned. But there's also features that we put into the vehicle to help with uptime. I'll give you one example. We have a low voltage management system. So what that does is when the vehicle's been sitting a while and the vehicle senses that the low voltage batteries are draining too low, it automatically turns on our high voltage system to trickle charge those batteries. So you don't have to worry about the maintenance of having dead batteries, right? Nobody thinks about this, but this is real world, right? The other thing we have is the things that we've designed into the vehicle in terms of how to service them. So I'll give you an example. Let's say you have a battery pack that goes dead or it's inoperable. You can swap out a battery pack in our vehicle in 15 minutes.
Wow.
With regular shop tools. Same thing for our electric drive unit. So our electric drive unit, in case you don't know, it's the motor, it's the transmission, and the differential all in one component. So it's not three separate components, it's three in one. So this is the power plant that drives the vehicle. You can swap it out in an hour. How long does it take to change a diesel engine?
Man.
It's not an hour. I'll tell you that, right?
Took a few days if you're lucky or your
Right.
terminal.
So
had
talking
something.
about uptime, there's things that are inherent to EVs, right? And if you can get that inherent EV benefit at price parity is cool. Then you have what manufacturers actually put in terms of features or how they service the vehicle. The other thing that I would tell you is that you have to have a dealer network, right? So we have an expanding dealer network. We have authorized service providers throughout the country. We have Harbinger technicians all over the place in case the dealer network needs some help. But we also have America's best commercial warranty. So it's 10 years and unlimited miles on the battery packs and the frame, and 10 years and 200,000 miles on the drivetrain. Nobody offers that level of warranty in this business.
Customization, we mentioned battery packs. One of the fun things I heard on these EV motors is you can get tens of thousands of foot torque theoretically you have to put dampeners or else they would just go so hardcore they blow the tires. If let's say I'm a delivery company, my drivers want to have a little more juice. Is that one of the little permutations I can kind of get a little more torque?
Not really. You can't choose what torque you want, but we put 14,000 pounds of torque to the wheel. And in many cases, that's much more torque than most of our competitors. But the customization comes in, we offer 3 different wheelbases, a 158, 178, a 208. We offer gross vehicle weight ratings, right? How much weight the vehicle can, all the way from 16,000 to 26,000 pounds. And then you have the customization of the battery packs. How many do I want to put in? 4, 5, or 6? So those are, in terms of customizing the vehicle for your specific use, I think that's the main ones that most people would be looking at.
Yeah. You mentioned Canada, cold weather. Any kind of unique challenges with that? I know that Arctic and cold weather testing has been one of the big deals for OEMs, but is there any kind of unique things you can share about that?
Yeah. So we spent 2 winters in New Zealand drifting step vans across the ice. It's really, really cool, but that's not why we were there. We were there actually to test the cold weather performance of our range. So the truth is that if you don't have a thermal management system like we do in our vehicle, in extreme cold temperatures, an electric vehicle range will degrade anywhere from 30 to 40%.
Yeah.
It's just physics. They don't like the cold weather, so you can't get around it. The only thing you can do is minimize it.
Yeah.
So with our thermal management system, the degradation is more like 10% as opposed to 30 or 40% because of the thermal management system that we put in place. So there's no way to get around EV, and if somebody tells you they can get it completely mitigated, they're lying to you. There's always, the batteries don't like extreme heat and they don't like extreme cold. So in addition to New Zealand drifting on the ice, we also went to Death Valley and we loaded a 26,000 pound GVWR vehicle. We put it on a 32% grade, to see exactly what happens to our range when we do that type of use case. And the vehicles have performed exactly like we expected them to perform under those conditions.
And kind of like looking ahead as well, you mentioned one of the big things was ADAS systems and stuff. Is that something common in the box truck world? I know some of the large Class 8s have lane control and stuff, but what are some of these systems that you guys are implementing?
Yeah, you have the bird's eye view cameras. You have a lot of cameras, right, everywhere. You have even cameras where you can see what the driver's doing. If you want to see what your driver's doing all day while they're driving, you have those types of cameras. But the advanced driver features they're all over the board, right? There's no real kind of uniformity in terms of how it's being. I will tell you this, is that there are differences in prices.
Yeah.
There's sometimes huge price premiums for what you get in terms of the advanced driver systems. Our vehicles come with a standard pack, and then we have an upgrade package from that. Most of the fleets, especially the large fleets, they just check all the boxes. They don't want to take the risk of not having the safety systems in place in case there's any accidents that happen in their fleet. So I think what we're going to see moving forward, especially from us, and there's some things that we can't announce yet, but we're in the process of making huge leaps in terms of these advanced systems so that drivers can feel more safe and more confident when they're driving.
Well, I was thinking with the cameras as well, helping with accident prevention. Is that one of the things where you're seeing that if I'm kitting this thing out with additional cameras, I can use that to maybe lower my insurance premium? Because that's one of the big conversations I keep hearing in the supply chain, at least on the FreightWaves side, is that people are more aware that there's less safe drivers. Fleets are now aware that maybe I need more cameras, and then maybe I can haggle with these cameras to say I deserve to be in the super cool bucket of I'm a much better driver because I have cameras than your standard Joe Schmo who gets a higher premium.
No, you're definitely right. It definitely helps from that perspective, and I mean, I hate to say it, but it also helps in terms of litigation. If you happen to get into an accident, did you opt for all the safety features that you could have gotten on this vehicle? And so in most cases, it's a real no-brainer for most companies. They're just checking all the boxes in terms of all the safety features.
Yeah. And let's see how we're looking on time right now. We're looking pretty good. Open it up for some Q&A as well if you want. I think we have 2 runners. Let's see. Yeah, they're in the back here. Yeah, hold your hand up as well. We've got one. and we'll go from there.
Can you talk a little bit more about the charging infrastructure and how that kind of works? I mean, more specifically, like in the FedEx P&D space, where are chargers? Are they at terminals? Who owns the utilities, paying electricity, et cetera?
Yeah, that's one of the topics of conversation that I think causes the most confusion because there's no one answer. There's no one size fits all. Even FedEx, in terms of their corporate depots, it's all over the board. Some are fully electrified, some are halfway electrified, some are not electrified, right? So in terms of electrification, if corporate depots don't have electrification, there's usually depots or there's usually some charging infrastructure nearby. So one of the things that we're working with, and we work with some of the charging infrastructure solution providers, is making permanent infrastructure changes takes time. And so what everyone wants to know is, how can I get something fast? How can I use either, I have no chargers, how can I generate electricity temporarily until I get a permanent fix? A lot of solutions are, you have one or two chargers, but you want to charge 10 vehicles out of those one or two chargers, and there's companies out there that can provide solutions to that where you can actually charge 10 vehicles from two chargers at the same time. So the solutions are pretty creative right now, and a lot of it depends on the individual businesses' range requirements. Right?
Yeah.
We're actually offering a product here at the end of Q1, which is a range extended hybrid EV chassis, which nobody else has in this space. So our hybrid chassis will go 500 miles on one charge and one tank of gas. It has a 48-gallon tank with a 1.4-liter Suzuki engine that trickle charges the batteries as the batteries are using energy. And so that's even going to be part of the infrastructure solution, right? Because doesn't mean that you have to go 500 miles, but if you don't have access to charging infrastructure every night or every other night, and you need your vehicle to go, 3 or 4 days without charging, you need to have a solution for that.
Yeah.
So really, really good question, but really, really tough to give specifics on what the best course or what most people are doing, because quite honestly, it's all over the board right now.
Yeah, I've kind of adding to that. When I've reported on some of the other ones, I've seen white glove where you basically let them charge it. It's at a depot. I know there's some places in Cali, they'll buy them and help you. I've seen some instances where the EV providers want them to be all public. So there's a big debate if you want to have your own special spot. And one of the big things to watch out for this year is they figured out that for the wattage. So one of the challenges is you got to run the lines in, and you either run these megawatt lines and you just have them just chilling out the whole time, or you have mobile storage. They're like little totem poles where you have the battery packs stored in, and then it basically fast charges you and it dispenses the juice. Think of it like a fuel tank. And then later, during off hours, that actually charges it back up. So there's a lot of configurations this year. One of the big things to watch, especially in the EV space, is going to be they're getting smarter with, like if I buy a bunch of them, I can have these mobile battery storages that lower the cost it takes to charge, because I'm basically depleting them during the day, and then when I'm sleeping at night, it's slowly charging it back up. And then the utility's cool with it because it doesn't mess with their draw. That was one of the big things I kept hearing was like, well, you're asking for like two megawatts, you're gonna need a lot of juice. Well, they've figured out how to split up the juice now to where you can actually get parity or get more savings on how you're charging it.
Great
Good question.
Great
Thank
question.
you.
Two quick questions. First of all, how do you define medium duty? And then the second question is, if you have a hybrid, do you lose the benefits of not having that gas-powered engine or diesel-powered engine and all the fuel and fluids and oil and all the things that you normally have?
Yeah, so we define medium duty as class 4, 5, and 6. So these are vehicles with gross vehicle weightings of 16,000 to 26,000 pounds. Let me give you a little bit of a side on gross vehicle weightings in the class. Is that one of the things that has been really, really tough for EVs is been able to maintain the payload. a battery pack weighs 450 pounds. So you put 6 of them in, you're putting a lot of weight to the vehicle. And if you don't find a way to shave weight, to take weight out of the vehicle, now it impacts your payload. Well, our electric drive unit that I mentioned to you, which is the motor, the transmission, and differential all in one, saves about 2,000 pounds of drive tray components. And so now on our vehicles, you can maintain the same payload as a diesel and get all the benefits of batteries because we've been able to take weight out. The independent front suspension, also a big weight saving, right? So we not only did it for the driver, we did it because now we can give you more range, better driving, and better payload. So that's how we kind of define the space class 4, 5, and 6. What was the next part of the question? The hybrid. Okay.
Yeah. If you lose out on the savings, if you have that engine.
So hybrid is having come from the automotive space, hybrid is a little bit of a confusing term because in the automotive space, hybrid means that the vehicle, the engine is providing power to both the batteries and the wheels. Our hybrid does not do that. Our hybrid has a 1.4 liter Suzuki engine that only powers or trickle charges the batteries. As the batteries providing power to the motor, which goes to the wheels, the batteries drain, but the hybrid engine continues to trickle charge it on the move. And that's how you get 500 miles until all the gas.
So it's like an inverter.
Right.
So it's treated kind of like you'd have a diesel inverter that would help out and then.
Yeah. But to answer your question in terms of how it changes the benefits of being all electric, not much, because the wear and tear on that engine is almost nothing. That engine would probably run forever as long as you did simple preventive maintenance, every year on it, because it doesn't get torque loads. It doesn't really suffer all the wear and tear that you would get on an engine that's actually powering the drivetrain.
So it's like a mobile generator range extension.
It's like a mobile generator.
Okay,
yeah.
Cool. Anybody else, any other questions as well? Cool, let's see how we're looking on time here. Yeah, no, we're looking good. We got about a little bit more. I think the inverter thing is one of the cool, it reminds me of when you're adding in that hybrid inverter, is that gonna be able to power other things? Like if I'm assuming some of these things like refrigerated options and stuff, is that one of the big goals, or is it really just to get that like 500 miles if you're in an area where you can't get access to charging all the time?
Yeah, in terms of the hybrid, it's mostly for the range, the comfort. So one of our big customers for the hybrid system is Thor Industries. Thor is the biggest RV manufacturer in the world, and they have just put one of our extended range chassis on one of their Class A motorhomes, these $1 million motorhomes called the Embark. And so the hybrid system was mostly developed for the RV industry, because when you go to campsites, they don't want you running generators, and so this was one of the big benefits of that. So in terms of the hybrid system, that's kind of was the real benefit of that, to put that in.
Final thoughts looking ahead. Anything else you can share, what folks want to look forward to, and then finally, where to find the booth? Yeah, so we're at booth 446, right in this hall, at the end of this hall. We have step bandits on display. We have people there for Q&A. We have engineers. We have salespeople if you want to talk about pricing. We're doing ride and drives and demos. Really encourage everybody if you have any questions, because upfitting your fleet is such an individual process. We want to be able to talk to you about your individual use case instead of generalities. So please come by. I think the only thing that I would kind of leave the hall with here is that the other thing that makes us different is that our leadership team has spent their entire career in electrification. I'll give you an example. Our chief technology officer and co-founder, his name is Phil Weicker. He has over 50 patents. And he's been designing battery systems and electric drivetrains his entire career. And if you happen to be at a university today studying battery systems, you're more likely than not reading his textbook. You wrote the book.
You heard the expression, I wrote the book, he wrote the book. And we have our chief production officer started the line at Tesla. right? Our CEO was working at Anduril, working on battery defense systems. This is the other thing that separates Harbinger from a lot of our competitors is that we're battery and drivetrain experts. And so, part of our challenge, 2025 was our first year of sales. Part of our challenge is nobody knows that, right? We're still trying to generate a lot of awareness, and so that's why we welcome anybody wanting more information or just to get to know us more. Please stop by.
Fred, really appreciate your time, sir.
Thank you. Thanks, Thomas.
Thank you all so much as
Thank
well.
you.
Appreciate your time. Check them out. Check out the Harbinger folks. And great fireside chat. Great questions. And looking forward to hearing from everybody. Appreciate it.